Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. So you are welcome to the what I call the second part of running your first ML experiment in Weka. So, and the last time we demonstrated how you can successfully load data into your Weka environment, and then you can run your experiment. However, I deem it that okay, there's need also to let you know, because sometimes the data set we demonstrated, it was data already stored in the Weka format. So, which was the data that I told you bundled with the installation files. So once you install your Weka, now you can see it in the program file under Weka. You can see data set. These are sample practicing data set that came with the installation. So we were using this diabetes data as an example. So when you open this diabetes data, so you can open with WordPad or Notepad yeah. So you can see this is the data. You can see this is the format of the .ARFF format that Weka is used to. So you can see that you have the title. It's saying this is the Prima Indian database, the diabetes database. It's telling us sources. You see, anything with this sign of percentage at the beginning is like a comment. So when this data is being loaded to Weka, these comments are ignored. So if you want to prepare your own file using this format, this is what you do. So you just open a WordPad or a Notepad, preferably, and then you start putting your data in. See, like this, manually doing this. This is prepared by this. What is going to be the citation that should be provided for you, and any other information that you want to be provided, you are going to put them here. Provided you include this kind of sign of percentage, it will be treated as comment. So this part will not cause an error when you are loading your data. So you can hide anything, when it was produced, where it was produced, and other information. So all these signs are comment. So when you want to prepare your own data from the beginning, this is what you need to do. Of course, these comments are optional. You can ignore them and go straight to the important thing, which is displays. This is the beginning of the data set. These ones are compulsory. This is where you have to define your attributes. And then you start with the relation. This sign, you write relation, Prima diabetes. This is the name of the file. See, this is the name of the file. Okay, this is the relation you are defining that the system needs to take note of. Now, then the next is add the attribute. You can see the number of pregnancy is numeric. You define them. Another attribute, plasma content of the blood, is numeric. So you keep having that until you define, and then you have the attribute class, which is either tested negative or tested positive. So this is the compulsory part. You have to indicate these parts, and also now you paste your data with, you now say heart. You can see this @ sign. You put data there, and then you now copy paste your data here. You can see separated by comma, 6, 148, 72, 35. This is for patient number 1. These are the attributes for each of these attribute given, and the class is tested positive. You do that for all the data set you have. This is how you create so when you save it, you are going to save it as .ARFF, and that will make it to become automatically a Weka dataset format. So this is the one we loaded. So when you go to your Weka, you can see here, this is open before. Let me close this. Now I want to open a new Explorer. Now let's practice with it. Now open file. So I can go to my document. I already created a folder here. So I don't want to be going to the program file always to look for my data. I created a folder called Weka experiment. So now you can see here I have a couple of, so I can save my data. I can click. This is diabetes.a.arff. This is data that is already there. The one I showed we demonstrated last time. So we just open it. So we are ready to go. Now, and then Remember last time I told after that you go to classify, then you choose your algorithm, which is, we use IBK, which is key nearest neighbor. You select how you want to test your data. I see cross validation or percentage split. We're using 80% or whatever percentage you want. Then you start. So you run it. That was what we described last time. Now today what I want to show us is this. Now, sometimes we might not be able to do, imagine, I have seen a lot of people complain that, oh, this is very difficult to have this kind of data. Yeah, because you need to follow the format, otherwise you can end up making mistake. So from my experience, what I do tell people is the best way to do is to go through the Excel. Go through Excel file. And this is what I want to demonstrate now for us to see. So you open an Excel file. I have an Excel file here, which is already open. See? So this, I copy the same data there, we put it here in Excel. Instead of putting in the Word part, we put it in Excel. Because it's easy for people to use Excel. We all used to it before. So put it in Excel. And I've always advised, it's good to let your target class to be the last column to the right. So which is it here. So once you put in Excel, it could be data for any experiment. Just copy your data into Excel file. Let them have the title of the attribute here. Once you have the title of the attribute, that's great. Now you move on. So you might want to rename the file, the sheet, so that the relation will be defined. You say this is a diabetes data. So we define it. Now the next thing now, this is Excel file. You need to save it in CSV format because Weka will not recognize the actual Excel file. If you save it as Excel file, you cannot open it in Weka. So you have to save as. So browse. So let's go to the space we are using. So we're using document. Okay, we're using Weka experiment. So you can see this data is here already as data1.xlsx. This is normal Excel file. It will generate error when you take it to Weka like that. So rather what we want to do is to save it as, you go here, you select CSV. Click here, the type of file you want to save. There are many CSV. There's CSV file for Macintosh. There's CSV file for MS-DOS. But you go for CSV, delimited. That is CSV file separated by comma. This is the one you are going to select. So you click this CSV, okay? There's another one here, but this is the one you use. See, click this CSV, delimited. So it's going to make the file in a different format. So I can say, okay, can decide to say this is my diabetes data. Give any name you want. What matter is this CSV, delimited. So once you selected that, you click save. So it's now going to save it in the format. This does auto save command. Okay, to save it in the format now that your Weka can understand and it can easily load. Now, so you can see now that the next, now let's open Weka. So I'm closing this. Let's open a new Explorer. Now this is totally new Explorer. Now open the file. Now go to Weka experiment. You can see that the diabetes data we just saved is not here. It's absent here. You can see here. This is the data we just saved. You can close it and then you can keep it open. That's okay. See, this is the data, that the diabetes data we just saved it as CSV format, but now we cannot see it here. Why? Because if you look at here, the format to be open, to be displayed is indicated. By default, Weka is looking for its own data format, which is .ARFF. This is why you can see here the two files that are in .ARFF have been displayed. But our own data we just created using Excel is not there. So you go here and indicate, which kind of format do you want? CSV data file. You can see, click it. There are other formats also that could be used, but then since we are conversant with Excel, I prefer to always use this. It make it very easier. So click CSV data. So it will display all data sets that are in CSV format. You can see. So this is our diabetes data. See, this is the one we just created. You can see it. You can see the Excel here for yourself. This is the name, diabetes data. Now, so you can click it, and then you can open it. You can see. So Weka already opened this file for you now. So which means the same experiment now can go on. The same thing has been opened for you. So you go here, choose the algorithm you want to use, IBK, which is k-nearest neighbor. Choose the percentage split. Maybe you want to use 10 float crop validation. Here you go. So this is kind of easier way for you to bring in your data to the Weka environment. So what you have saved, the advantage of this is you don't need to monitor all these kind of stuff. You see, doing it manually, that you actually make mistake easily. However, so now another thing I want you to know is having successfully loaded this CSV file into the Weka. So if you like, you might actually now save it in the Weka format if you want. Some people want it in Weka format finally. That is okay. Just click save here. Save. When you click save, okay, you now tell the system, I want to save it in, it was originally in CSV. Now Weka will automatically want to save it in its own format, which is ARFF format. So remember that this data loaded in was actually loaded from CSV file. For when you click save from Weka, it's going to automatically try to save it for you in ARFF data file. So which we are trying to do now. So you can name it the way you like so that you can recognize this is what we have just saved. So we can say, okay, newly saved. Put any name you like. Okay. Now your data now is saved for you in the original default format of the Weka files. So now you go there, you go to that folder. So you can see now here. Can you see your data? This is the same data here that you saved in Excel file initially as data 1. We converted it to CSV file. We save it as database and diabetes data. Now we have, from Weka now, you have saved it now as diabetes data. Now let's open it. You have saved it in the ARFF format. Now, if you click it now, you can open it in Weka format, WordPad. Can you see now? This is the file you've opened now. See, by saving it directly from Weka, it has created something like this for you. It means Weka automatically, since it identified the attributes, it created this attribute preg, the same thing as we have in the example earlier given. So Weka will automatically do this for you. The only thing Weka does not have is because you don't have a comment in your CSV file, in your Excel file. So now if I want to put any comment in this file, I just put it down and I start putting that sign that I told us, which is the sign of percentage, and then this is produced. So whatever you want to write, keep putting that particular sign. So this data produced on the so-so date, whatever comment you want to put, you can put it there and then save, and then you can still use the file. Just don't forget to put that percentage sign before any statement you want to write, because the only thing the system understands are this format, that these are the attributes, this is the name of the file, see the one we call the relation, and then these are the attributes, and then these are the data, this is data. So now, I hope this is clear. So successfully now, we have been able to show you how you can play with your data in Excel and then save it as CSV and also use it, load it into Weka, and Weka will automatically convert it to the ARFF file. If you want, it's not compulsory you convert it to it. But if you just want to, because you want to put those comments and some other stuff, that's okay for you. But however, you can let your file remain as CSV. For example, now I want to modify this file. See, I'm trying to modify this file. Okay, I want to save it in a different format. Okay, I said says CSV version 2. So now in this version, maybe I just decided to play with. I don't want this this file. I don't want this attribute. I delete this attribute. I don't want the first one. How many times the person has been pregnant? Okay. I want the data also to be applicable to men. Okay. So I remove the pregnancy, whatever. Now I've reduced the number of features. So I added new features or whatever you have done. Just you go ahead and just save your file. Save it, and then you go to your Weka. The same procedure. Open file. You can see here. Open file. You can see it's only displaying for you ARFF data. So you have to say, show me the CSV file. You can see here. You see the version 2. This one we just saved now. Diabetes data, CSV version 2. So open it. You will see that the number of pregnancy is gone. The age is gone. This is a modification to the data. However, we still maintain that the last column here remain the class, which is the attribute to be predicted. You see? So we can now go to our classifier, select the classifier. We want to use IBK, the percentage split, and then you can also run. So now it's now running with lesser number of attributes. You can see it's running with lesser number of attributes. And before we stop this video, I want to demonstrate something also for us. Remember, I told us that the attribute to be predicted can be in any part of the file, but it's advisable for you to put it at the last column. Now, let's say I didn't put it at the last column. See, automatically it has selected the class as the class to be predicted. Now, I will go to my Excel now, and I'm going to change it. Now, I'm going to copy this value. I'm going to copy this value. See, I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to put it after. I'm going to put it after. Yeah, after the class. Delete. Now, no, I just changed the order. This is usually the class. This is the class we want to predict, whether it's diabetes or non-diabetes. But we want to demonstrate that, okay, if you don't put this class at the last column, you see what is going to happen to your data. Now, we are going to save it now as version 3. Take note, CSV file. Now we go to Weka. We're going to open a new file now. Open. This is version 3. Then you open the file. See, it has opened the file for you. Now, I want you to note that because now we change the position of that class, it's no more the last in that, it's not the last column in the Excel file, in the CSV file we loaded. You see what is going to happen. Now, when you go to classifier, you can see that classifier, it automatically selected this PEDI as the class, as the attribute to be predicted, which is not correct. What we want to predict is the class 268,500. You see, this is the class tested positive or tested negative that we want to predict. But because the way we arrange our data in the Excel file, we did not follow the order. It's not compulsory, but then to follow any order, you can put it anyway. But then you have to come here before you do your prediction or either classification or regression. You have to manually select. You have to tell the system that, please, the class I want to predict is this, not what you have selected automatically. You see? But you have to make sure you don't forget to do it. Because in our file, you yourself, you have decided to put this last. So Weka automatically assume that the last variable here is the variable you want to predict. It is the output variable. But in this case now, it is not correct. So we have to go in and manually tell Weka that, look, Weka, this is not what I want to predict. This is what I want to predict. Now, so that's why you have to manually select it, and that is, it will start predicting. It will still correct. It will still be correct. However, imagine that you forget. By default, it has selected this. So when you click, it will be predicting wrong thing. And that's why you can see the result will not make any meaning. Because what is predicting is actually now a regression variable because it is in values. It's not yes or no anymore. See, because when you look at this one is yes or no, tested positive or tested negative. But this one is value. There is value. There are numbers there. So you are confusing yourself. You are confusing the system. And I do encourage people to always put your class to be at the last column because you might forget to indicate manually to Weka that this is what I want to predict. But however, if you have to do this, then you must make sure that you don't forget to indicate in the Weka that, oh, Mr. Weka, this is what I want to predict. So you have to go there, manually select it. But my personal opinion is, why wasting your time to do that? It doesn't cost you anything. When you prepare your data, make sure that your output is placed at the last column. It's not difficult. Just put it there, and then you can kick out this one. Colors, you are okay. So I save this data now. So, and then I go back to Weka and I reload my data. Open. Still version 3, I call it. You can see that this manual selection I'm doing, I don't need to do it. It has already selected class automatically because my Excel file came in with the last column being the attribute to be predicted. So I hope these are very clear to us. So we are in this video now, we've successfully, hopefully demonstrated how you can load your data from Excel, which from my experience is always easier to create an Excel file as a data file than to create the .arff, which is the default file for Weka. But then we have we already demonstrated how you can actually convert your CSV file back to ARFF by just going to Weka and click save. Under the pre-process, just save. Weka will always save the file irrespective of how it was loaded. If you load it with CSV, by default, it's interested in saving it as .arff. You can now indicate that, no, I don't want it to be in ARFF. I want it in Excel. And in the other way around also, if you open a file that came with .arff, you can actually save it to Excel also from here. So you just select that, okay, save as CSV format. And Weka will generate the CSV format of your data for you. So this is another thing also you can also do here. So let's say we loaded the data that was originally, we want the ARFF data. This data is originally in this format. So now we want to save this data that came in ARFF. We want to save it in the format of CSV format. So in that case, we give a name. We just call it converted to CSV. You see there, so it will create another file for you. You can see, can you see now this file I just saved? This was originally in this format, in the Weka format, but now when I say save as and I selected CSV format, then it converted that file to Excel format, which you can click and load directly. You can see now. And then you can see it is loaded already. So yeah, you can take note that once this file is converted to Excel, those comments, you can see that those comments are not coming in here. You see, you remember the same file. This is the file we just converted to Excel, this file. It only took care of this one down. All these comments, as I told you, they are just comments that ordinarily, this was the one, no, the other one. Yeah, this one. You can see all these comments, they were ignored. So why loading it back to Excel? Because what it recognizes is this particular values. So I hope these are clear for us. So this is a natural follow-up to the first video on running your first Weka experiment. Just do it so that we can show you that there are other ways, because I had people who are concerned about, okay, how do we create this kind of file without making a mistake? So the easiest way is to put your file in Excel, convert it to CSV file, and then load it into Weka. So and then you can then save it as CSV finally, or save it into ARFF if you want, after your experiment or before your experiment. Hope things are clear. So thank you for the time, and I wish you all the best.